The message from my investment advisor should have been my first warning that something was catastrophically wrong. Unusual trading activity detected in Blackwood Hotel stock. But I was too engrossed in quarterly projections and board meeting preparations to give it more than a cursory glance. My name is Audra Blackwood, and that notification marked the beginning of the end of my carefully structured world and the start of something I never imagined I'd become. Audra, you look like you've seen a ghost. Maya Rodriguez, our chief operating officer, appeared in my office doorway, her usual confident demeanor tinged with concern. I stared at my phone, my hand trembling slightly as I processed the numbers on the screen. The company shares, there's been a massive unauthorized transfer. The family trust holdings, my personal portfolio, everything's been liquidated. Maya crossed the luxurious corner office, her heels silent against the thick carpet. What? That's impossible. Those shares are supposed to be locked under multiple layers of security. Mother, I whispered, the realization hitting me like a blow to the solar plexus. She must have accessed the trust documentation somehow. The joint authorization protocols we set up when I was getting my MBA. I never had them revoked. Call her, Mia urged, her hand squeezing my shoulder firmly. Maybe there's a reasonable explanation. I tried. The call went straight to voicemail, again and again. Each unanswered ring felt like another betrayal. I need to get to the mansion, I said, grabbing my Hermes bag. Something's very wrong. The drive to the Blackwood estate was a blur of manicured lawns and wrought iron gates. When I pulled up to the circular driveway in my Mercedes, I noticed Mother's Bentley was conspicuously absent. The grand entrance was locked, but everything inside the marble foyer looked perfectly normal at first glance. Then I saw the envelope on the antique console table, addressed in Mother's elegant handwriting, Dearest Audra, by the time you read this, I'll be overseas. I'm sorry, but I needed to secure my future. The hotel business is changing, and I had to adapt. You'll understand someday. Love, Mother. I crumpled the expensive stationery in my fist, tears burning in my eyes. Understand? Understand what? That you're a thief? My voice echoed through the empty mansion. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello, is this Audra Blackwood? A man's voice asked. Yes, who is this? Nathan Chen, your grandmother Eleanor's attorney. I've been trying to reach you. I'm afraid I have some difficult news. Your grandmother passed away last week. The room spun. Grandmother Eleanor, the formidable woman who built Blackwood hotels from nothing, who taught me everything about strength and business acumen, gone. There are some urgent matters regarding her estate and the hotel chain that we need to discuss, Nathan continued. Would you be able to come to my office tomorrow? Yes, I can do that. After hanging up, I sank to the marble floor, my back against the hand-carved mahogany paneling. A shadow fell across me. I came as soon as I could, Lucas Parker said, crouching beside me. Our head of security, and one of the few people I truly trusted. Maya called, said you might need technical support. She took everything, Lucas, I said, my voice cracking. And now grandmother Eleanor is gone too. He sat next to me, his security badge catching the light from the crystal chandelier. Remember when your mother tried to convince the board to sell our Singapore properties at a fraction of their value, and Eleanor stepped in? I nodded, dabbing at my eyes with a silk handkerchief. Grandmother blocked the sale, said protecting our legacy was more important than quick profits. She paid for my Harvard MBA herself, told me to never let anyone compromise my business ethics. Your mother's been playing these corporate games for years, Audra. The manipulated reports, the questionable consultancy fees, the offshore accounts that never quite added up. I thought she'd changed, I whispered, staring at the family portrait above the fireplace. She seemed different lately, more invested in the company's future. We were finally building a real partnership. My phone buzzed again. A message from the CFO. Your mother just sent an email to the board announcing your temporary leave of absence due to family emergency. Everything okay? Oh God, I showed Lucas the message. She's covering her tracks, making sure no one questions her actions for the next few days. She planned this, Lucas said, his voice hardening as he examined my phone. All of it. Getting closer to you, gaining your trust, just to orchestrate this massive stock manipulation. The numbness was wearing off, replaced by something colder, more calculated, a feeling that almost scared me. What are you thinking? Lucas asked, studying my face. I stood up, smoothing my Armani skirt. I'm thinking about what grandmother always said, in business, sometimes the best revenge is letting your opponent think they've won. But you know what? Maybe victory needs a little strategic planning. Audra, listen. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with grandmother's attorney. Whatever she left in her will, whatever control of the hotel she's passed to me, it's a starting point. Mother thinks she's won. She has no idea what's coming. Lucas stood too, concern evident in his professional demeanor. Just be careful. Corporate revenge can have unexpected consequences. I'm already changed, I said, looking around the mansion that held so many memories of boardroom battles and family betrayals. And maybe that's exactly what this company needs. My phone buzzed one final time. Another alert. Mother had just used her corporate card at a luxury hotel in Singapore. Game on, Mother. Game on. Nathan Chen's office felt too warm, despite the premium air conditioning. I fidgeted in the leather chair, watching him sort through a stack of legal documents. Before we begin, he said, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, I want to express my condolences. Eleanor was more than just a client to me. She was a mentor and dear friend. Thank you, I managed, my throat tight. The view of downtown from his corner office seemed to blur. She spoke of you often. Nathan pulled out a thick envelope embossed with the Blackwood Hotel's logo. In fact, you were her primary focus during our last meeting. The door opened, and Maya slipped in, her Louboutins clicking softly on the hardwood floor. Sorry I'm late, she whispered, taking the seat beside me. I'd asked her to come as both COO and friend, knowing I couldn't face this alone. As you're aware, Nathan continued, your grandmother was a legendary figure in the hospitality industry. Blackwood Hotel's current market valuation is approximately $12 billion. My head snapped up. 12 billion? And that's just the hotel chain. He slid a document across his mahogany desk. There's also her personal estate, investment portfolio, and various international properties. Maya squeezed my hand under the desk as Nathan laid out the details. The numbers made my head spin. She left you everything, Audra. Every property, every share, every asset. Complete control of the Blackwood empire. But what about Mother? The words escaped before I could stop them. Nathan's expression hardened. Eleanor was explicit about Vanessa's exclusion from the will. She said, and I quote, my daughter has taken enough from this company already. A laugh bubbled up in my throat, slightly hysterical. Mother's going to lose it when she finds out. She already knows, Nathan said quietly. She's been calling my office daily, threatening to contest the will from Singapore. How convenient, I muttered, thinking of the stock transfers. There's something else. Nathan reached into his desk drawer. Eleanor left this for you. Said I should give it to you privately. He handed me an elegant leather-bound journal, the Blackwood Hotel's crest embossed in gold on its cover. I'll give you a moment, Nathan said, standing. Maya, would you mind helping me review some regulatory documents in the conference room? Once they left, I opened the journal to a marked page, recognizing my grandmother's distinctive handwriting. My dearest Audra, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But I've watched you grow into a formidable businesswoman despite Vanessa's constant attempts to undermine your authority. The empire I've left you isn't just about wealth, it's about legacy and power. Use it wisely, and remember, sometimes the best way to deal with a corporate shark is to let it think it's winning until it swims right into the net you've carefully laid. All my love, Grandmother Eleanor. My hands trembled as I closed the journal, its leather cover cool against my fingers. The door opened, and Maya returned alone. You okay? She asked, resuming her seat beside me. She knew, I whispered, running my finger over the embossed blackwood crest. Somehow Grandmother knew Mother would try something like this. What are you thinking? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a notification, an email from Mother. Darling, I know you must be upset, but I had no choice. The market opportunity was too significant to ignore. Once these investments mature, I'll restore your holdings twofold, I promise. And I heard about Eleanor. I'm so sorry. We should discuss the succession plans. Call me. Love, Mother. She's incredible, Maya breathed, reading over my shoulder. She orchestrates a massive stock manipulation and still thinks she deserves a seat at the board? I stood up, pacing the expensive Persian rug. You know what's truly disturbing? Part of me still wants to believe her. That's how skilled she is at manipulation. Even now, she almost has me convinced. So, what's the strategy? A plan was crystallizing in my mind, as clear and cold as a diamond. We let her think she's winning. Tell Nathan to leak that I'm considering a leadership sharing arrangement. Audra, Mother wants to come back? Fine. Let's give her something to come back to. I picked up Grandmother's journal, feeling its weight. A corporate trap of her own making. Nathan returned with a stack of documents, ready to transfer control of the Blackwood Empire. Actually, I said, sitting down, I have some questions about corporate governance. Specifically, about making someone think they have executive authority they don't actually possess. Nathan raised an eyebrow. I assume this has something to do with Vanessa? Let's just say I'm taking Grandmother's advice about handling sharks. As I signed document after document, I felt something shift inside me. The betrayed daughter was fading, replaced by someone stronger, someone who'd learned from the best about how to play the long game in luxury hospitality. One more thing, Nathan said as we finished. Your grandmother left specific instructions about the presidential suite at the flagship hotel. Said you'd know what to do with it when the time came. I smiled, remembering the suite Mother had always coveted, but Grandmother never let her use. Oh, I know exactly what to do with it. Mother's going to love it, right up until she doesn't. You're going to let her stay in the presidential suite? Maya nearly choked on her artisanal coffee. We were sitting in my new executive office at Blackwood Hotel's headquarters, surrounded by boxes of corporate documents I hadn't unpacked yet. The Manhattan skyline stretched out behind me through floor-to-ceiling windows. That's exactly why it's perfect. I pulled up the security feed on my laptop, showing the opulent suite. Grandmother had installed state-of-the-art surveillance after Mother's last attempt to reorganize our Asian property portfolio. Devious, Maya grinned. I like this new side of you. A knock at the door interrupted us. Lucas walked in carrying a stack of financial reports. Your mother's been busy, he said, dropping them on my mahogany desk. I had our banking division pull her transaction history. I flipped through the papers, my jaw tightening. First-class flights, presidential suites at competitor hotels, luxury shopping sprees. She's burning through my liquidated shares like they're nothing. There's more, Lucas said, pointing to a highlighted entry. She's been making calls to real estate developers here in New York. She's planning to return sooner than we anticipated, I said, turning my laptop to show them an email I'd just received. Dearest Audra, I've had time to reflect on my recent decisions, and I realize I've made some regrettable choices. I'm returning next week. While I understand I've damaged your trust, I believe we can rebuild our relationship. I heard about your inheritance of the Blackwood Empire. Perhaps we could discuss future collaborations over dinner? Love, Mother. Wow, Maya said. She's not even trying to disguise her intentions anymore. Perfect. Time to set the stage. I opened my calendar. Lucas, I need your expertise with something. He raised an eyebrow. Depends. Is it within SEC regulations? Mostly, I smiled. I need you to pick Mother up from the airport next week. Make it appear I'm too consumed with merger negotiations to come myself, then bring her to the flagship hotel. Maya caught on. Where everything will be arranged just as she expects. The dutiful daughter ready to be manipulated again. Exactly. I pulled out grandmother's journal. But first, we need to make some adjustments to the presidential suite. Over the next week, we transformed the presidential suite into an elaborate corporate trap. Every luxury item was cataloged and photographed. Every room had hidden security cameras. Every safe was rigged to record access attempts. The network monitoring software is active, Lucas announced, closing his laptop. I'd brought him in for his cybersecurity expertise, swearing him to absolute discretion. Any email or document she accesses from the hotel network will be logged and forwarded to you. You're frighteningly good at this, Maya observed, watching me arrange seemingly confidential merger documents in the suite's private office. I learned from the best, I said, thinking of all the times I'd watched Mother manipulate board members. She taught me everything I know about corporate strategy. Time to show her what an excellent student I've been. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. Vanessa's lawyers have withdrawn their challenge to the succession. Of course she did, Maya said, reading over my shoulder. Why fight for minority shares when she thinks she can claim the whole empire? That evening, as we finished the preparations, Lucas pulled me aside. Are you certain about this? It's not too late to take a different approach. I looked around the suite that would become Mother's gilded cage. You know what she said when I got into Harvard? Why waste time on an MBA when you could be learning the business from me? She convinced me to decline my first admission. If grandmother hadn't intervened. I remember, he said softly. You were devastated that year. She's never faced real consequences, Lucas. Not meaningful ones. She just moves on to her next corporate raid, her next hostile takeover. Not this time. My phone chimed with a flight confirmation. Mother would land tomorrow morning. Places, everyone, I announced. Time for the final details. We worked late into the night, perfecting the last elements, a walk-in closet filled with designer clothes, all tagged with security sensors, a jewelry safe filled with pieces that would test her self-control, financial statements accidentally left visible on the desk, showing accounts she'd never be able to access. One last thing, I said, placing grandmother's antique Cartier clock on the mantel. Mother had always coveted it, tried to claim it twice. Now it would serve as the perfect bait. As everyone left, Maya hugged me tight. You know she's going to try to turn this around on you, right? Make you feel guilty about protecting the company? I'm counting on it. I locked the suite door. That's how I know the plan will work. Mother can't resist playing the victim, right up until she goes for the corporate kill. Later, alone in my penthouse apartment, I watched the security feeds one last time. Everything was perfectly arranged, every detail calculated to appeal to Mother's appetite for power and control. "Game on, Mother," I whispered to the empty room. "Let's see how you like being the one who's outmaneuvered." I watched through the security monitor as Lucas's company car pulled into the hotel's private entrance. Mother stepped out, looking exactly as I remembered: Chanel suit, perfectly styled hair, and an expression of practiced remorse. "Showtime," I muttered, heading down to the lobby. The elevator doors opened. "Audra, darling." Mother rushed forward, arms outstretched. She smelled of Hermes perfume and calculated intentions. I let her hug me, keeping my arms loose at my sides. "Welcome back, Mother." "Oh, sweetheart, I've missed you terribly." She pulled back, tears glistening in her perfectly made-up eyes. "I know what I did was unforgivable, but I was desperate. If you'll just let me explain the market conditions." "Not now," I cut her off, watching Lucas bring in her Louis Vuitton luggage. "You must be exhausted from your flight. Let me show you to your suite." Her eyes lit up as we rode the private elevator to the top floor. "The presidential suite?" But that was always Eleanor's. "It's mine now," I said, unlocking the double doors, "and I want you to have it." Mother stepped inside, her mask slipping for a moment as she took in the opulent surroundings: the antique furniture, the silk wallpaper, the gleaming Cartier clock. "It's perfect," she breathed, running her fingers along the mahogany desk. "Just perfect." "There's more." I opened the walk-in closet. "I had some clothes brought in for you, and the safe is stocked with jewelry you can borrow for board meetings." Her eyes darted to the safe, then back to me. "You're too generous, darling, after everything that's happened." "Family is family," I said, the words tasting like ashes. "Besides, Grandmother would have wanted us to work together." "About the succession," Mother started, sitting on the plush sofa. "I know I have no right to ask, but—" "Let's discuss it over dinner," I interrupted. "I have a merger meeting now, but I'll be back around 7. The suite is yours. Make yourself at home." As I turned to leave, she caught my hand. "Audra, wait. I really am sorry about the stock transfer, about everything. I'll make it right, I promise." I squeezed her hand, remembering all the other promises she'd made and broken. "I know you will, Mother. I know you will." Downstairs, Lucas was waiting by his car. She took the bait, completely and utterly. I pulled out my phone, opening the security app. Mother was already exploring the suite, examining everything. "Look, she's trying the safe combination already. Want me to stick around?" "No, go. But keep your phone on. Phase 2 starts tonight." Back in my office, Maya and Lucas were monitoring the feeds. "She's accessed that safe 6 times already," Lucas reported. "And she's attempted to breach your corporate email 3 times from the laptop we left in the suite." "Any calls?" I asked, settling behind my desk. 3, Maya said, all to her old contacts in real estate development. "Looks like she's planning to establish a foothold here." "Perfect." I pulled up the fabricated merger documents we'd prepared. Time to give her something to really think about. "Send these to the printer in her suite." We watched as the printer whirred to life. Mother practically pounced on the documents, her eyes widening as she read the proposed valuations. "She's not even trying to hide her ambition anymore," Maya muttered. "She thinks she doesn't have to," I said. In her mind, I'm still that naive girl who gave up her first Harvard admission. My phone buzzed. A text from Mother: "Darling, could we move dinner earlier?" There's so much I want to discuss about the future of Blackwood hotels. Here we go, I said, showing them the message. Everyone ready for phase 2? Lucas grinned, pulling up the surveillance software. All systems go, cameras active, monitoring in place. Your move, CEO. I texted back, of course, Mother. 5:30 at the hotel's private dining room. I'll have the chef prepare your favorites. Her response was immediate, perfect, darling. And thank you for giving me another chance. You won't regret this opportunity for us to work together again. Oh, but you will, I whispered, watching her admire her reflection in the suite's mirror. You definitely will. Lucas's voice was gentle. You still have time to stop this. I thought of my depleted stock portfolio, of years of corporate manipulation and lies, of grandmother's words in her journal, let it think it's winning. No, I said, straightening my jacket. She needs to learn. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from those we've underestimated the most. The private dining room felt smaller with Mother sitting across from me, delicately picking at her Wagyu steak. She'd changed into one of the designer outfits from the suite's closet, a Dior ensemble that likely cost more than most junior executives' monthly salary. The hotels are performing remarkably well, she said casually, steering the conversation where she wanted it. Eleanor always had an exceptional eye for luxury properties. Like mother, like daughter, I suppose. Like grandmother, like granddaughter, I corrected, watching her face tighten for a split second. Of course, darling. Though, I did learn quite a bit about luxury hotel management during my time in Asia. If you ever need guidance. My phone buzzed. A text from Lucas. She's been researching hostile takeover strategies and board member contacts. Actually, I said, setting down my wine glass, I could use your input on something. The Shanghai acquisition needs attention, and I'm overwhelmed with the details. Mother's eyes lit up at the mention of our largest potential expansion. The paperwork's in my office. Want to review it? She practically jumped from her chair. Lead the way, darling. In my office, I pulled up fabricated acquisition documents on my laptop. Mother leaned over my shoulder, her perfume almost suffocating. See these projections? I pointed to inflated numbers. They're interested in a complete portfolio merger. Fascinating, she breathed, already calculating potential gains. With my experience in the Asian markets. A crash from upstairs interrupted her. We both looked up. Probably just housekeeping, I said, hiding my smile. Right on schedule, Maya. I should check my suite, Mother said quickly. I left some confidential documents out. Of course. Take your time. The moment she left, I pulled up the security feed on my phone. Mother rushed into the presidential suite, making a beeline for grandmother's Cartier clock. She ran her fingers along the base, finding the hidden compartment we'd planted. Got you, I whispered as she pulled out the fake documents we'd stashed there, confidential merger agreements showing massive upcoming international acquisitions. My phone buzzed again. Maya this time. Your mother just tried to email photos of the merger documents to someone in Singapore. Caught by our firewall. Perfect. Mother returned, looking flushed but triumphant. Everything's fine upstairs now. About the Shanghai acquisition. Actually, I'm feeling rather tired, I faked a yawn. These merger negotiations are exhausting. Of course, darling. You worked too hard. She kissed my cheek. I think I'll make some calls, reconnect with our Asian partners. Partners like Marcus Chen? I asked innocently, naming her former accomplice in the Singapore property scandal. She froze for a microsecond. I haven't spoken to Marcus in years. Interesting, because he called the office today, something about an investment opportunity. Mother's mask slipped slightly. Did he? Well, I'm sure it's nothing significant. Later that night, in my apartment, I watched the security feeds with Lucas. Mother was making call after call, her excitement barely contained. She's already setting up meetings with potential investors, Lucas said, scrolling through her intercepted emails, using the fake merger documents as bait, just like she did in Singapore. I leaned back in my chair, exhausted. Same strategy, different continent. Audra, Lucas touched my arm. I saw how you tensed when she hugged you. This is taking a toll. I'm fine. No, you're not. You're starting to think like her. The words hit like a slap. I am nothing like her. No? Setting elaborate traps, playing mind games? What happens when this is over? She needs to learn, but at what cost to you? He turned my chair to face him. I've known you since your Harvard days, Audra. This isn't you. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with an alert. Mother was in the hotel's executive office, attempting to access the secure servers. I have to go, I said, standing. Audra, wait. Lucas caught my hand. Just remember who you are. Don't let revenge change that. I pulled away, but his words followed me down to the hotel lobby. On the elevator ride up, I thought about grandmother's journal, about karma and consequences in the corporate world. Mother was back in her suite when I arrived, looking innocent as a board member's wife, but the security logs told a different story: attempted server access, photographed confidential documents, suspicious international calls. Everything okay? She called out as I passed her door. Perfect, I replied, thinking of the trap closing around her step by step. Everything's just perfect. She's meeting with investors today, Lucas announced, striding into my office. 3 of them at Le Bernardin. I glanced at my Cartier watch. Right on schedule. Is everything in place? Maya's already there with the surveillance team, and guess who else just arrived? He slid his tablet across my desk, showing security footage from the restaurant's entrance. Marcus Chen. My stomach tightened at the sight of Mother's former partner, the man who'd helped her orchestrate the Singapore property scandal. She's really assembling her old team. Want me to shut it down? Lucas asked. This is escalating quickly. No. I stood up, grabbing my blazer. This is exactly what we need. Send me the live feed. Le Bernardin was bustling when I arrived, but I spotted Mother immediately at a corner table, holding court with 4 impeccably dressed people. Marcus sat beside her, looking exactly as untrustworthy as I remembered. Your table is ready, Ms. Blackwood, the maitre d' said quietly. Actually, I'm meeting someone. I headed toward the bar, where Maya sat nursing a martini, her phone discreetly recording the meeting. You won't believe what they're promising these investors, she whispered as I slid onto the stool beside her. Guaranteed returns of 30% on the Shanghai properties. It's the Singapore scheme all over again. Just like Singapore, I muttered, watching Mother gesture enthusiastically with her perfectly manicured hands. Same con, different continent. My phone buzzed. Lucas, are you sure about this? It's not too late to stop. I ignored the message, focusing on Mother's table. One of the investors was already pulling out his checkbook. Now, I said to Maya. She pressed a button on her phone. Across the restaurant, Mother's phone rang. She excused herself and stepped away from the table. Hello, she answered. Mrs. Blackwood? Maya disguised her voice perfectly. This is Sarah from Global Financial Compliance. We're calling about some suspicious transactions involving Blackwood Hotel shares. I watched Mother's face pale as Maya spun her tale about SEC investigations and frozen trading accounts. By the time she hung up, her hands were shaking. "Showtime," I whispered, standing up. "Audra?" Mother's voice pitched higher when she saw me approaching. What a surprise. I was just having lunch with some potential partners. Partners like Marcus Chen? I smiled coldly. The same Marcus who helped you orchestrate the Singapore property scandal? The investors at the table stopped talking, looking between us. "Darling, you're confused," Mother laughed nervously. "We were just discussing some potential investment opportunities in Asia." "Like the fake merger documents you stole from my office?" I pulled out my phone, showing the security footage of her photographing documents. "Or maybe the forged board signatures you've been practicing?" Marcus stood up quickly. "I should go." "Sit down," I snapped. "You'll want to hear this too." The restaurant had grown quiet, other diners trying not to stare at our corporate drama. Mother's perfect mask was cracking. "These investors deserve to know who they're really dealing with," I continued, my voice carrying. "Should I tell them about Singapore? About the millions in investor funds that disappeared? Or about how you manipulated our stock prices just last week?" "That's not, I was going to reinvest everything," Mother stammered. "Like you reinvested the Singapore funds? Like you reinvested the money from all those other special opportunities you've offered over the years?" One of the investors stood up, gathering his papers. "I believe we're done here." "Wait." Mother grabbed his sleeve. "I can explain everything." But they were already leaving, muttering about calling their attorneys. Marcus tried to slip away, but Maya blocked his path. "The SEC would love to chat with you too," she said sweetly. "I'll have my lawyer contact the appropriate parties." Marcus then quickly made his exit through the kitchen. Mother collapsed into her chair, her carefully constructed world crumbling. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do this to me?" I leaned close, letting her see all the years of betrayal in my eyes. "Because you taught me well, Mother. You taught me that family means nothing when there's a deal to be made. You taught me that trust is just another asset to be leveraged. I'm your mother." "No," I cut her off. "You're a corporate raider who happened to give birth to me, and now everyone knows it." As if on cue, two men in suits entered the restaurant. Mother's eyes darted around, looking for escape routes. "Don't worry," I said, stepping back. "They're not SEC agents yet. Consider this a preview of coming attractions." I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. "I really was going to make it work this time," she said softly. "The Shanghai deal was real. I was trying to rebuild our legacy." For a moment, I almost believed her, almost fell for the trembling lip, the tears, the perfect performance of a repentant business partner. Almost. "Goodbye, Mother," I said, walking away. "Enjoy the presidential suite while you can. The rail board meeting hasn't even started yet." The security feed showed Mother pacing in the presidential suite, making frantic international calls. It had been 3 days since the restaurant incident, and her business empire was collapsing piece by piece. Another investor filed a complaint with the SEC, Maya announced, walking into my office. "That makes 4. And Marcus?" I asked, not looking away from the screen. "Cooperating fully with investigators. Turns out he kept detailed records of everything, including Singapore." My phone lit up with Mother's 20th call attempt of the day. This time I answered. "Audra, please," she started, her voice cracking. "We need to talk. Come to my office. 1 hour." I hung up and texted Lucas, "It's time." Mother arrived exactly on time, wearing the same Dior suit from her first day back, but now it looked wrinkled, as if she'd been sleeping in it. "Sit," I said, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. "Darling, I know you're angry." "Angry?" I laughed, pulling out a folder. "Let's talk about angry. Here's a statement from your Singapore victims, a family investment group who lost everything. The chairman had a heart attack when he discovered what you'd done." She flinched. "I didn't know." "Oh, how about this?" I pulled out another document. "The pension fund in Hong Kong that had to liquidate? Or the hotel chain in Dubai that nearly went bankrupt?" "Stop," she whispered. "This isn't what you wanted to discuss. Your greatest hits?" I spread the papers across my desk. "And let's not forget your latest masterpiece, manipulating Blackwood Hotel stock." I was desperate. "The Shanghai opportunity was a scam," I finished. "Just like everything else in your business career." She stood up, pacing. "What do you want from me, Audra?" "An admission." "Fine. I admit it. I'm sorry for everything." "No, you're sorry you got caught." I pressed a button on my phone, and the office TV flickered to life, showing security footage from the presidential suite. I recorded every call, every meeting, every attempt to orchestrate new deals. Mother's face went white. You've been monitoring me?" "Learning from the best," I smiled. "You taught me everything about corporate surveillance. Time to show you what an excellent student I've been." "The SEC already has copies of everything, along with statements from your former partners, Marcus's records, and evidence of your latest attempted schemes." She collapsed back into the chair. "Why? I'm your mother." "Exactly. You were supposed to mentor me, guide me. Instead, you taught me that family loyalty is just another commodity to be traded." I stood up, walking around the desk. "But grandmother taught me something too, about karma, about corporate accountability." "What are you going to do?" I handed her an envelope. Inside is a one-way ticket to Montana. There's also a contract for a position managing a small boutique hotel there. Non-executive level. "Montana," she looked horrified. "But my entire network is here." "Your network of schemes is finished. Take the position, disappear, start fresh. Or don't, and I'll release everything to the financial press. Your choice." "You wouldn't." I pulled out my phone, showing her the draft email to every major financial publication. "Try me." Tears rolled down her face, real ones this time, not the calculated drops she usually deployed. "I really did love you, in my own way." "I know. That's why I'm giving you a chance to walk away, more than you gave your other victims." The office door opened, and Lucas walked in. "The car's ready." Mother looked between us, clutching the envelope. "When?" "Now. Lucas will drive you to the airport." She stood shakily, then reached for her Hermes bag. "That stays," I said, "along with everything else from the presidential suite. You start fresh, or not at all." For a moment, I saw the real her, the scared woman behind the corporate warrior facade. She stepped toward me, arms raising for a hug, but I stepped back. "Goodbye, Mother." She nodded once, tears still falling, and followed Lucas out. Maya came in after they left, holding 2 glasses of aged scotch. "You okay?" I took a glass, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as Lucas's car pulled away. Did I just become her? Using her own corporate tactics against her? "No," Maya said firmly. "You gave her a chance to rebuild. That's more than she ever gave anyone else." My phone buzzed. A text from Lucas, "She's in the car, still crying." Real tears this time. It's really over, I whispered. Not quite, Maya said, pulling out grandmother's journal. There's still one more page you haven't read. I opened it to the marked page, seeing grandmother's elegant handwriting one last time. Remember, my dear, revenge might satisfy for a moment, but forgiveness liberates forever. The choice is yours. I closed the journal, thinking about mother's tears, about karma and consequences, about the thin line between justice and vengeance. The choice was mine, but what would I choose? The small boutique hotel in Montana looked exactly like it did in the surveillance photos. Through the window, I watched Mother directing staff at the front desk, her designer suits replaced by a simple hotel manager's uniform. You sure about this? Lucas asked from the driver's seat. No, I admitted. But grandmother was right about forgiveness, even if mother doesn't deserve it. Want me to come in? I shook my head. This is something I need to do alone. The bell chimed as I entered. Mother's back was to me as she reviewed reservation logs. We close check-in in 10 minutes, she said without turning around. Hello, Mother. She froze, then slowly turned. Gone was the perfect makeup, the calculated charm. She looked real. Audra, her voice cracked. How did you find me? You know, I said as I sat at the front desk, I've been thinking about your talent for making deals. With skills like that, I could only imagine the possibilities if they were used to build something instead of destroying it. Maybe we could explore that together. You've been watching me, she whispered. I never lost track of you. I settled onto one of the lobby's leather chairs. Coffee, please. Black. Her hands shook as she poured from the lobby's coffee service. Are you here to check if I'm running schemes again? No. I took a sip. I'm here because of these. I pulled out an envelope and slid it across the counter. Inside were dozens of letters, all addressed to me, all returned unopened. You got them, she whispered. All 32? I wrote one every week, but I couldn't send them. Until yesterday, I finished. Mother gripped the counter. And I believe you. About wanting to change. About being sorry. I pulled out another envelope. So I brought you something. She opened it carefully, gasping when she saw the contents. Grandmother's Cartier clock, the real one this time, not the replica from the presidential suite. Why? Because rebuilding has to start somewhere. I met her eyes. But there are conditions. She sat down heavily. Of course. First, you stay here, keep managing this hotel, keep building an honest career. I pulled out a folder. Second, you help me make restitution to your victims, starting with the Singapore Investment Group. How? I've set up a compensation fund from Blackwood Hotel's profits. You'll contribute 30% of your salary. It won't fix everything, but it's a start. Tears welled in her eyes, genuine ones, like at the office that day. And what about us? That's the third condition. I took a deep breath. Complete honesty. No more schemes, no more manipulation, just truth, even when it's difficult. Especially then. She touched the clock gently. Did I ever tell you why I started doing what I did? No. Your father. She paused. He left us with nothing. I was 26, with an infant and empty accounts. I promised myself no one would ever make me feel that powerless again. So you made others feel powerless instead? She flinched. Yes. And somewhere along the way, I forgot the difference between protecting ourselves and destroying others, including you. The hotel's lobby lights dimmed. Closing time. I have to go, I said, standing. But I'll be back next month to check on the hotel's performance. We can have coffee, talk business, try to rebuild. She came around the counter, stopping just short of reaching for me. I don't deserve a second chance. No, I agreed, but I deserve the chance to heal. And maybe this is how it starts. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Mother, happy birthday. Her hand flew to her mouth. You remembered. I remember everything, the good and the bad. That's what makes this so complex and so important. Outside, Lucas was waiting. How'd it go? I looked back through the window. Mother was holding grandmother's clock, crying quietly. She's different, I said. Really different. People can change, he said softly, if they want to badly enough. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya, did you give her the clock? Yes, I typed back, and maybe something more important, a chance. As we drove away, I thought about grandmother's last words in her journal, about karma and consequences, yes, but also about choice, about choosing to rebuild instead of destroy. You know, Lucas said as we hit the highway, your grandmother would be proud of you. Of giving your mother exile, but also giving her a path to redemption. That's more than she gave herself. I touched my pocket, feeling the single letter I'd kept, Mother's latest one, describing her first honest quarterly results, her small but growing team, her attempts to make amends. Maybe revenge wasn't about destroying someone, maybe sometimes it was about forcing them to face themselves, to change, to grow. And maybe, just maybe, that change could heal us both. Let's go home, I said, watching the boutique hotel disappear in the rearview mirror. We've got work to do. The restitution fund won't manage itself. And somewhere in Singapore, a family investment group was about to receive an unexpected letter, along with the first of many payments toward making things right. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a beginning.